sensitive about my haircuts. Of course, I'm bald now, so. And that night, April the 9th, I left home because I wanted my haircut. And I drove my bike to my best friend's house, who always cut our hair. I didn't even get my hair cut. That's the interesting part about this story. But anyway, so I'm going back home, and on the way back home, I was hit by a drunk driver. The drunk driver ran a stop sign, and he hit another car. Now, according to police reports, the drunk driver was probably going about 60 miles an hour in the 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. And he ran a stop sign, and he hit another car that was probably going 45 miles per hour in the 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. So both cars were speeding at a combined speed of over 100 miles per hour. And the impact of the drunk driver upon the other vehicle was so hard that it knocked that vehicle off the road onto the sidewalk while I was riding my bike going back home. It knocked me 50 feet from the point of impact. So where I ended up from the point that I was actually hit was a difference of 50 plus feet. I was sliding across the pavement. So once I landed, I slid, and as I was sliding, a stick actually went through my knee. I ruptured my spleen, so I had to have a splenectomy. They had to remove my spleen. And I also tore 2 arteries in my left arm. So I had to learn how to use my left arm all over again. And I had to learn how to walk all over again because of the damage. Now, amazingly, after all this happens, they started keeping the field cut. But before the accident, they never cut the field. The grass in that field, if memory serves me correct, used to always be at least calf length high, above ankles at least. Because of course, calf length is relative to whose calves we're talking about. But, midway between calf and ankle, that grass would always be. And so when I landed in the field, paramedics come out, police come out, fire department come out, clean up the crime, clean up the scene, clean up debris, go through the whole 9. And they actually leave, and nobody knows I'm in the field. And there was a group of individuals who just so happened to be passing through the field that heard me crying out for help when I finally gained consciousness. When I finally regained consciousness, because first of all, I didn't even know what happened. It was only progressively as time went on that I regained memory of what took place. But in the initial regaining of consciousness, I didn't know what happened. I actually thought I had got shot. Now, I didn't remember having no beef with nobody at that time, but at that time, it wasn't out of the ordinary, for somebody my age, to get shot in our neighborhood. I mean, you sort of expect that almost, but I thought somebody shot me and left me in the field to die. And I was in and out of consciousness. So for somebody to just so happen to be walking through that field at that time, after having already been left by the paramedics, I think that in and of itself is, a miracle. Then you add to the fact that when the paramedics finally did come back out, because they had to be called back out to come get me, and according to the medical reports and the paramedic reports, in transition from the accident scene to the hospital, I supposedly had died 3 times. Now, this part of the story is the divine supernatural aspect of it, because I actually believe I did. I remember vividly, first of all, accepting death. I remember accepting death vividly, clearly. I remember clearly me saying to myself, well, this is it. And I felt myself slipping away. There was this light that I saw. And I know we watch movies, we watch TV, we hear people talk about this light. And I'm here to tell you that if it's the same light that I saw, then what they're talking about on movies and TV, it's real. It is the purest form of white I've ever seen in my life. And I remember clearly seeing that light and saying to myself, this is it. And I accept the death that has just come knocking at my door at 17 years old. And at that moment, I started praying the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples, because that's the only prayer I knew. Now, here's another miraculous aspect of this story, and that is I had just gotten saved and accepted my salvation in January of that same year. I had just gotten saved that January, and all I knew to pray within myself, couldn't do it verbally, I couldn't do it audibly, but within myself, I began to say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. The moment I said that prayer, there was a level of peace that came over me that I felt for the first time in my life, and that I occasionally feel even from that point. And it's a peace that always lets me know that all is well. It was the first time I felt that peace, and it was when I felt that peace, I no longer was in a place of accepting death. I was in a place where I knew I was going to survive whatever just happened. I can look down and see a hole in my stomach. I can look down and see a stick sticking out of my knee. I could not move this arm. I thought it was broke, but the arteries had snapped. I couldn't do anything with it. And in all of that, after having just accepted death, I knew I was going to be all right. And according to the police report, I died 3 times. Police report, ambulance report, one of them. They lost me 3 times. And after I prayed that prayer, the next thing you know, I woke up in ICU. And that moment, that experience is an experience that introduced me to the true presence of God. From that moment forward, nobody could convince me that God wasn't real and that Jesus was not the way to that God. Now, in this day and time, people will try to teach you out of your relationship with God and tell you, what's not true in your Bible and what not to believe regarding church. And, people can be real articulate and real intelligent when it comes to those type of things. But I tell people all the time, people can teach you out of what you learned. People can teach you out of what you read. They cannot teach you out of what you experience. And so no matter how articulate an individual may be, no matter how skilled they may be in rhetoric and, conversation, and no matter how strong their oratorical skills are, there is no words that you can formulate that can convince me that what I went through on April 9th, 1999, number one, wasn't real, and number two, wasn't an encounter with the one true living God, with whom we have a relationship with through his son Jesus Christ. To this day, I bear the scars and the residual effects of that day. My body has never been the same. It will never be the same. There's a certain vaccination I have to get every 5 years because I don't have a spleen. Anytime I so much as catch a cold, it's cause for concern in my household. Almost every area of my life still bears the impact and the residue of that moment. It's almost like Jacob having his hip broken wrestling with the angel. So there are moments from that experience that still bear negative impact. Yet I harbor no residual anger or unforgiveness from the individuals that were involved in it. The drunk driver, the other guy that was speeding. And though I have my moments to where I wonder why God allowed that to happen. Because I didn't do nothing to nobody that night. I was just being a 17-year-old kid. Just wanting a haircut. Because I ain't like to be caught without my haircut. And I end up getting involved in something that changed my life for the rest of my life. But I still view that as not a moment that God meant to hurt me. Even though the devil may have meant for that night to hurt me and those connected to me. I view it as a moment that God used to introduce me to him in a way that probably would not have happened had it not been for that moment. And it's from that moment I know that my life has purpose and meaning and that I'm here for a reason. Because he could have let me die that night and it would have happened quickly. I would have died and never felt a thing. Because I never felt anything. People ask me all the time, or they used to ask me, because at that time I was 17 years old, young people, we ask crazy questions. So people used to ask me, did it hurt? How did it feel? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't feel anything. The last thing I remember was leaving my best friend's porch, and I woke up unconscious, not knowing what happened. I didn't feel any pain until I woke up in ICU. I could have been gone like that, not felt anything. Just that quick, just that easy. And another thing that I draw from it, and I'll say this and I'll close. One of the greatest life principles that I draw from it is appreciating your loved ones. And to this day, I try not to ever leave my house without telling my wife I love her and without kissing her. And the reason that is the case is because, of course, I told you that I left my house that night to go get my haircut. What I didn't tell about that part of the story earlier in the story is that my mom didn't even know I left the house. because I didn't say anything. My mom was in her room watching TV. I was in the back of my room watching TV, and I just hopped up and said, I'm gonna go get my hair cut. And I just hopped on my bike and left. She didn't know I was going. When my friends, a lot of my friends, when they found out I had been in the accident, they went to my mom's house to tell her that I had been involved in an accident. She didn't believe them. And she told them, this is what she told me after the fact. She told them, y'all lying, because Brandon's in the back room laying down. And she walks in the back room to see if I'm in the back laying down, and I ain't in the back laying down. She never knew I was gone. And I could have died that night. Just like that, real quick and easy. And my mom didn't even know I had left the house. And so I'm grateful that God did not allow me to die like that night. And never having the opportunity for my mom to tell me she loves me again, or for me to say I love her. So I say to everybody who may be watching this, practice not allowing anything to keep you from telling your loved ones you love them and kissing them whenever you're departing from them. Because life can happen quick. Death can happen quick. And there's nothing you can do about it.